I spent the last 7 years of my life living out my wildest dreams. Bianca, Rocky, my dad. This was built on their shoulders. Hey, my man, can I help you?
Let me get an autograph.
Nah, I ain't signing no autographs, but you get off my car.
You don't remember me, huh?
Damien.
Da 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 da! You sound insane. You realize that? Yeah. The whole world gone crazy! Are you serious? Ladies and germs! It's showtime.
Hello, my friends. We meet again. It's been a while. Where should we begin? I am Brian Gill, the host of Mad About Movies, joined as always by my co-hosts, the Scott Phillips and Mark Tremonti, to my Scott staff. It's Kent and Richard. How's it going, boys?
Hopefully I'm Tremonti.
Yeah, all right, called it.
Because I don't know the other guy.
I mean, if you're Tremonti, you're still a touring musician, but you're also Mark Tremonti, so I don't know.
Yeah, but I get to be an alter bridge, Brian. I mean, what life would you want to live?
I have a friend who's really still into that kind of scene, and don't worry, I perpetually make fun of him. But
Tobin, right?
Well, it's Matt. I think you've met Matt. Hillbilly Matt is what we call him around here. He loves this band called Trivium, which is just like being punched in the ears. It's so terrible. And at some point, a couple of years ago, he was like, "Will you guys go with me to a concert if I buy the tickets?" And I said, "Absolutely not." And Tobin is too kind, too nice.
You said no without even knowing the bands.
Oh no, I knew. He was like, "It's a Trivium concert, but what if I buy it?" And I was like, "No, absolutely not. No, thank you." And Tobin was like, "Yeah, it's fine. Whatever. I'll go." And then the opener was whatever Mark Tremonti's other band is besides Alter Bridge, and so you had to sit through both of those. And I was like, "Well, that's what you get for being a nice person." I will not be there with you guys. So fun times.
What is his other band called?
Creed 3.
Tremonti. It's just called Tremonti, right?
I think so. I think you're right. Yeah.
They're the Van Halen of our generation.
Everyone says so.
The Bon Jovi
Yeah.
of our lifetime.
Yeah. It's
Tremonti.
the Nirvana, maybe even perhaps.
My favorite thing would be if
particular
Creed
scene.
got if Scott Stapp rejoined Creed,
Mm-hmm.
but he just joined Alter Bridge.
They went by Alter Bridge with Scott Stapp. Yeah,
with Scott Stapp.
that would be great.
And they made him play all the Alter Bridge music.
Yeah, he's just like, I just don't want to sing higher anymore, guys. Like, oh yeah, we get
Like,
it.
dude, we haven't done 20 years of material for nothing.
I would love to hang with you guys to bro down. I just don't want to sing our songs. Oh yeah, we got you. No problem. Be a funny bit. Should do that. We should do that. It's Mad About Movies. We're not talking about the post-grunge band. We're talking about Creed 3 and the Creed verse with Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors.
I'm not coming in as hot as I did on Creed 1. Sorry, let everyone down.
I forgot about that. Richard had a great night before we recorded Creed back in 2015, I think. So
I forgot about that.
We give Kent PTSD.
Maybe that's why. My
It was a
brain's
great
blocked it
episode,
out.
but edited a lot, I think.
I just rejoined Pocket per Brian's recommendation, the article saving app. And I was just I had not been on there since 2015. And I just was going through and deleting all my old things so I wouldn't get confused. All the articles I had saved from 2015, and there was like 6 think pieces on OG Creed. It was really weird because like I just did this 45 seconds ago, and then we hop on.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
It was that and the Clubhouse app.
There's a lot of LaMarcus Aldridge trade rumors stuff. I'm out of it. Back in reality. Thank you.
It's good stuff. This movie is several years in the making. It was supposed to come out last year. I had it in the movie draft. R.I.P.
How did that end up, by the way? How did the movie draft end up? I'm just gonna be. What if I was a real?
You won.
What if I was a real Devin Booker about it the rest of the year?
Here's the question, though, Richard.
Mhm.
If Brian had lost, would we have known about it? Or would it have just been like, oh, no, we're not.
Oh nope! Look,
Yeah,
turns out I
the
won. Weird.
results,
That's
the
crazy.
results have been lost.
Mhm,
Yeah.
yeah. COVID, guys. You know.
You,
Exactly. Yeah.
You watch
COVID, guys.
50 Shades Freed yet? When are we getting that content hitting our?
I got to watch 50 Shades and 50 Shades Darker first.
so you
that's
know,
what I've been doing. I got to do my due
10 minutes a
diligence
day.
first. And
Gotta
then,
understand the context.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Can't just go in blind, so to
right.
speak.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, let us know. I know the VIP is.
When's it due? When do I have to have
Well,
it
look, I think we
done?
should. I think we probably do summer movie draft in
Yeah.
like 2 weeks, maybe. So,
Okay.
like by then, that would
Yeah,
that would be alright.
usually it was
Yeah.
due by the time the next one happened, and so once we get the next one on the books on the docket, then
Sure.
then we'll knock it out.
I think
So to
I
speak.
think movie draft this year, at least round one will be like April 1st. Like the movies that come out in April through August will be eligible. So we'll probably do that episode, late March. So you got a couple weeks. You got
All
a
right.
couple weeks. So
Cool.
all right, we're talking Creed 3. We've vamped enough, so let's get into this thing here. I was very excited about this movie. Creed, the original Creed from 2015, is one of my 10 favorite movies of all time. We put that on our updated list that we did for episode 800 or whatever that was. I rewatch it pretty frequently and just sob. It's a perfect movie. Creed 2 is very good, a lot of fun. Couple things here and there that are missing. Partly they're missing Ryan Coogler and like just greatness behind the camera. I think a little bit. Creed 3's been out there for a couple years. Thought it was going to come out last year, didn't. Now it's here. And Jonathan Majors so hot right now. Feels like he should be. You know what? I'm actually good with it. He should be in every movie for the rest of the year. I think just digitally add him to.
Yeah, can we add him to the Titanic 25th anniversary
I'm in. That sounds great.
in the Leo role?
I was very excited about this movie, and I not to spoil it, but I was not disappointed by the returns. Kent, going to you first. Where were you at on the anticipation for this thing, and give us your general thoughts.
Very, very high in the anticipation level, guys. We love these movies. This has been one of our favorite, I feel like, podcast series that we've talked about with the Mam Fam, with Just Us 3. We've seemed to really enjoy these. I don't know if the general public loves these as much as us. I guess these are really big. It's just funny. The Rocky series, the association with Rocky. My entire life, Rocky has been a series. I'd put it ahead of like Avengers in terms of a series that people just care about.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't say anything negative about Rocky. It's pretty like offensive to a lot of people to say you don't like Rocky. And then when you get Rocky, you don't understand it. That has been fascinating over the years to grow up with. I'm pro Rocky, so it's been easy for me, but it's just hilarious how passionate people are about Rocky and the Rocky series. And so I was wondering with Creed 3, how much would it lean into that, its origin? How much would it want to be its own thing, that kind of thing? So I was curious to see the direction Michael B. Jordan would go with this thing now that he's in the director's chair. And so piqued my interest there. Can't say I was let down at all with this one.
Awesome.
There's just something about this character, the series, that I love. I hope they make more Creed movies. So without getting spoilery or general thoughts, that's kind of where I am on it.
Sweet. Richard, what about you?
Very hotly anticipated. I remember being like, I'm trying to assign a certain percentage to this. 4% sounds about right. Let down by Creed 2. Still loved it, but like the first one was so awesome. So like you worry that after a second, it maybe isn't quite as good as the first. A lot of times that third really takes like the big drop.
Yeah.
Plus Coogler not directing Cher, love Michael B. Jordan, whatever. But was still, love the character, excited to see it again. I love boxing movies. I love Rocky movies. I think these Creed films are vastly superior to the Rocky movies just because they feel more modern. They don't have the meandering 70s and 80s thing, But yeah, so it was cool. I was absolutely jazzed for it, right, gang? They're jazzed. But yeah, and then kind of instantly it was, hair standing up the back of my neck again, loving this all the way through. So without getting too much into it, yeah, this one was like being surprised all over again where this could go. Loved it. It felt like the most maybe realistic sports movie ever in that, like, gosh, those actors really looked like boxers.
Yeah.
Like Sly kind of does, but like the other day he looks like an actor playing a boxer. And certainly that happens a lot with football and basketball, and baseball can kind of, because baseball players don't really look, Corbin Burnson kind of looked like a third baseman in the 80s, but an old third baseman. But that's my go-to. I would say this is the Corbin Burnson of films. But yeah, but it felt like a real, especially a lot of it that takes place kind of within the sportsiverse that we follow. And all the Creed films have, there's like PTIs in the first one and stuff like that. It felt really, it really scratched that sports itch in a great way, and is a great, awesome movie. And I don't know, man, coming out of this one, I was really mad I didn't watch Creed again, because I'm like, now this is my favorite one.
Nice. This is crazy. I got a couple things for you guys here. First Creed made $29 million opening weekend. Creed 2 made, I believe, $35 million opening weekend. This thing made $58 million opening weekend and 115, I believe, overall worldwide.
In definitely a harder theatrical environment for sure.
Significantly so, yeah, totally. It's a huge, huge number. So much so, this kind of blew my mind. I saw this about 2 minutes before we started recording. That's the best open for a sports movie ever.
Wow.
Ever. Like, kind of,
I don't know.
Draft Day is considered a drama, though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
And dogfighting, I mean, in terms of jets, not actual dogs, I think is a sport. So Top Gun 2, I think that was a sports movie. So
sure, that's true.
Certainly has the beats of a sports movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I see your point, Richard. Like, that does kind of feel like
they play football in it
movie.
with two balls.
There you go. Yep.
That's a sports
football
movie.
in this one, volleyball in the other.
Yeah,
that is a good point. Yeah.
Sports movie. Yeah. Listen, Kyle, that's your opportunity to review Top Gun Maverick on Big Screen Sports.
It's got everything about coaching and teamwork and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It all goes together.
You got to fight the enemy,
Yeah.
I'm interested.
$58 million opening weekend is crazy.
I'm wondering, though, guys,
in this economy,
and I want your thoughts on this. How much of this is the Jonathan Majors effect? Because he's in the other movie that's out right now, Ant-Man, in a huge
Cocaine
way.
Bear. Oh, right.
No, he was the bear. Yeah. Well, he just didn't know. That's how versatile he is. Jonathan Majors, star is rising, and I think Michael B. Jordan's a bigger star now than he was when Creed 2 came out. And then you have all of this time, probably during the pandemic, that people went back and revisited those movies or discovered them for the first time. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot oddly that benefited it, that like natural marketing that you can't buy, which is the 2 stars. Obviously they bought those, but they couldn't count on the peaking that they have. I mean, the fact that Jenna Ortega's in this Scream movie, oh my gosh, guys. Like, they lucked out so hard. I'm like, getting Jenna Ortega in this, it's going to make twice as much because she's in it, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's almost, I'm wondering how much of this is Creed, how much of this is star power.
Yeah, I think it's a culmination of a few things. I think it's both of those things you mentioned there. They did a great job of marketing and advertising this thing. The trailers are good.
Yeah.
The trailers were also like really well placed. It didn't feel like, at least for me, I didn't feel like we got kind Creed trailers for 9 months,
Yes.
leading up to this. I think that was a smart play. I think studios need to follow that lead. It's fine to do that for the 5 biggest movies of the year, maybe the 3 biggest movies of the year, but especially when it's something like Avengers, or if Justice League didn't have all the baggage that it has, you could understand why Warner Brothers and DC would maybe try to do that kind of marketing campaign for months and months and months and months. We don't need nearly as much of that for a lot of these things. So they advertised it really well. They marketed it really well. There was a great study. I think it was when it was one of the Fast movies. I think it was 7, but I could be wrong on that. And obviously that was pre-pandemic and stuff, but they talked about how movies that are that represent underrepresented people and people groups actually do really well at the box office. When you put a lot of marketing behind them, and I think that helped in this situation as well. They really kind of leaned into who their stars are, and I thought they did a fantastic job with all of that stuff. So this is a huge hit, huge number for this thing.
I remember going to Creed 2 the opening weekend, and it was sold out. The screening I went to, it was the worst screening experience I've ever had. I think I talked about it on that episode. I had a screaming kid next to me during the trailers, so loud that I had to move down to the front row for the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
where a guy wouldn't get off his cell phone in the front row. Yeah, it was one of those. So I have PTSD to the experience of seeing it, but I remember just how packed it was and just being shocked. Like, God, how this many people have to see this right when it comes out? Because it felt like a movie that's like, oh yeah, I'll catch this one on Redbox in a few months or all that. And Brian, I think it just shows that people, and Top Gun showed this as well, that people want to support good movies that aren't superhero movies. I think that gives people more of an incentive to go out and support it if it's not a Marvel movie.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely
it's more
think
rare.
Yeah, we saw that with we talked about it a bit, or maybe quite a bit with Quantumania, Richard, of the Marvel fatigue, superhero fatigue, and whatnot. And look, I'm not ready yet to say, this is, hey, theaters are back, and all that kind of stuff. I think we declare, not us, not the three of us, but like the industry as a whole, like declares movies dead and resurrected just way, way, way too frequently. But I don't know, Richard, it does feel like maybe there is a bit of a bump right now on, we're kind of tired of these kind of movies, but we still do like seeing a movie. Like maybe there is something to this. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think, this one is, Michael B. Jordan is certainly a movie star. The next jump for him will be like, is he going to have an 8 to 10 year run, or is he going to have a 25-year run? That's kind of the next ring or rung or whatever to climb for him, but he certainly has a big run. It has an emerging star in Jonathan Majors. It has a great trailer. It was really, you're right, it was well timed for the marketing. They partnered really well with Smart Things. Sports lends itself to that. The only thing people watch on TV anymore are sports. And so you can put Creed ads on there and you have an audience that maybe is a persona that's interested in seeing a movie like that, and you're actually getting them in a more traditional way that now, where other type of movies you have to do really targeted things digitally and all that, because you're not going to get any kind of live audience on any other kind of television show. So there's a lot of different factors there. Likable, great, and then it looked good immediately. The trailer was awesome, and the hype was, the reviews were good. We always say we can overcomplicate these things. We can target. We can market really intelligently. We can partner with great things. We can use Instagram to get to the millionth second of the person in the right moment at the right time, or just make good stuff and people will go see it for the most part. Yeah. And so all that other stuff is kind of around the margins. It's pretty rare actually that a really good mass appealing movie doesn't do well. Like just if you make something for a mass audience, a boxing movie kind of gets there, feel good story, pump 'em up movie, and it's good, you're going to make a lot of money. I don't think any of us expected 58 million domestically, but like, I think we thought this would do well.
Yeah. I think the key to that is to make the good movie first, you know. All these other things can be parts of it, but if the movie's not good, Creed did really well with like word of mouth. I know I went to see it with some friends, and then a couple nights later went to see it with another. There's very few movies in the Mad About Movies era that I've gone to see in theaters more than once, you know, and that was one of them. And I had probably three or four different groups of friends reach out to me for this one, like, hey, we're going to see Creed 3, you know, this night if you want to meet up with us or whatever. It kind of hit all of these different spots, but you're totally right, Richard. But the movie has to be good, number one. Also, just last thing I'll say, and then we can get into the movie. It's 2 hours long. I know we talk about it every freaking week, but it makes a difference, guys, for real. Like, it for real makes a difference. Like, I walked back in last night at whatever time it was, and Lindsay was like, oh, hey, I didn't expect you for another 30 minutes or whatever, because she is now she expects every movie is going to be 2.5 to 3 hours long because that's what it has been. And I was like, nope, it was just 2 hours. It was, you know, it was good. She was like, oh, wow, that's great. You know, I was like, yeah, I know. It's awesome. Like, please bring some of this back. Seems like maybe that's a trend that we're starting to see, and that'd be wonderful. I'd really like that. No, I'm sure Shazam is 4.5 hours long.
Maybe it's something you see with theatrical is trying to keep it under 2 hours, where they'll still lean these Netflix exclusive ones. Yeah, it might be 2 hours 40, but you're at home, so you can pause it, you can come back to it.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I think you're right, Brian. I think a lot of people look at the time and they say, can I block that much time out of my day to go up there and do it?
Mm-hmm. You can pack in more screenings through the day too. I mean, this
one was showing once an hour.
Yeah.
At my local theater. That. So when I went and saw it today, I didn't know what time I was going to be able to see it, but luckily I could just pick an hour and go later in the day. It wasn't just like, well, if I don't get to this screening, then I won't get to see it. So
love that.
Amazing.
All right, let's get into the movie a little bit. Kent, what do you think about? Let's start with the story and the timeline of all this thing. Is we set you up with some flashbacks, and then we flash forward a little bit, and then we flash forward all the way to Adonis Creed post retirement. He's got, like, I don't know, a 6-year-old, something like that. As all this comes to fruition, and then we're gonna get some flashbacks here and there to tell the story of how he got here. What do you think about the timeline and the story of this thing?
I liked the story. I thought the setup was nice. The initial setup was nice, I would say. We'll get into some technicalities around the setup that I don't know if I was thrilled about a little bit later. But yeah, I like the retired Creed in this awesome house. I mean, the house was dope in this movie. I don't know where they found it, if it was a set or whatever, but but that was kind of a character in and of its own right. Was the setting of the house, his new lifestyle, and how that juxtaposed with his old friend, Diamond Dame Anderson, Jonathan Majors. And it felt a little bit Fast and Furious, guys, in a way where it's like, wait, Dom has a brother this whole time? Where, how did we not know about this guy up until now if he's such an important part of Adonis's upbringing? He was in jail, so I guess that's why. And they do have a lot of moments in this on, I should have been there for you, I didn't care. But I don't know, maybe they could have set that up in Creed 1 if they knew where this was going to go in Creed 3. But I enjoy the fact that we have him retired now as sort of this promoter, this Don King, you know, like Oscar De La Hoya has gotten into this side of the business now. This retired boxer who was great and promotes fights within his own, I think it's called Golden Boy Promotions. And sometimes still boxes. Like when somebody challenges him, he'll still step up to the plate in this kind of way. So that was the comparison I made.
Things are going really well for him too, right?
Say what?
Things are going really well for old Oscar too, right?
Right. Yeah. He needs to stay unretired so that he can still legally fight people. I think that's what's going on. But yeah, it reminded me of that, and I thought it was a good setup.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought I'm with you, Kent. Like, there's a few things in here that you kind of just have to sprinkle a little bit of movie dust into it, which is fine. I'm not gonna nitpick, especially with a movie that I think is really well done. I actually thought they did a pretty good job, like, because I had the same thought at some point. I was like, it's a little odd that this has never come up at any point in his life, through all this. Just nothing. Okay, cool. But I felt like as the movie goes and you get more explainer on it, and you do get him kind of digging into his trauma and everything associated with it, I felt like it did a good job of explaining away that stuff of just like, I try not to think about it because this is super traumatic, and I'm a man, I don't talk about my feelings, all that kind of stuff. I thought that was handled pretty well, but it did take a little bit of suspending reality just a bit through the course of it. But overall, Richard, I thought the storyline was really good. I think that's the thing that's maybe missing a little bit in the second movie. As much as I really like the second movie as compared to 1 and now 3, the Drago line of story just kind of feels like not necessarily nostalgia for the sake of nostalgia, but it definitely feels like at the very least, it's I think it's fair to say it's the least of the 3 in terms of the quality story.
Feels like
on this stuff.
The connection they wanted to make was to the Rocky series with Creed 2. Mm-hmm. And in this one, they're like, let's have a connection in Creed's life this time.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Arby, did you like this version of Adonis, this post-retired promoter type? Did that work for you? Did MBJ come through?
Yeah, he worked. He's a great actor. He pulled it off. But it's also absurd because he just seems and reads so young. Obviously, boxing is not a old man's game, but like, I don't know. It's like the idea of someone that's that vital being retired from anything is funny. But he pulled it off obviously very well. And I thought the kind of promotion angle was strong. And I really liked the way they tied new angles of the Drago son into this and tied that with Drake and with Dame, rather, not Drake. And then that's felt believable. You had the that whole kind of storyline as well, continuing the Rocky tradition of enemies becoming your friend, kind of in this circular thing, which is a time honored. So from Apollo Creed to all the way through. So yeah, that's all that the kind of intertwining of the stories actually made me like number 2 better because it felt like it fully realized some of the other things about number 2.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Gosh, MBJ is he's really good. He's just a really good actor. I also had a little bit of like, my brain tells me he looks like he's 25 years old. It's hard in some ways to buy him as a retired former athlete, even knowing that the shelf life on a boxer is either incredibly short or incredibly long. There's no like real in between the way this stuff works. But by the way, did you guys get the trailer for the George Foreman movie?
Yeah.
Did you see this?
Yeah, I've been reading about that a little bit. It's a weird. We'll see.
It's not for me, man.
They're saving the grill for the full length trailer. Was that a teaser?
That's the sequel, dude. You got to you got to earn it with the origin story. Yeah,
it's just truly amazing how
George Foreman,
man. It's like every faith-based movie. It's like the second the trailer starts, like, oh, church movie. Like,
I know it's like the tone of the music or something.
No, it is. It's the worship music as score, and it's like the lighting and everything about it. It's just instantaneous. Oh, faith-based movie. Cool. Anyway, I think back to the point, there was a moment of, I'm kind of having a hard time buying him as retired athlete. And then he really sold it with his mannerisms and expressions, and like this kind of like a little bit of desperation in the way that he's doing things, mixed with the the boredom that we know a lot of professional athletes and whatnot face post retirement stuff. I thought they got that. They did that perfectly. It felt real. His knowing that he needs to be retired, but missing everything about what he was doing pre-retirement. If that makes sense. I think they got that done incredibly well. Really hit that.
This didn't feel so much like a conclusion to a trilogy than I thought it would.
I mean,
didn't it just feel like another Creed movie, like Creed 4? Not to get spoilery, but it didn't have as much looking back on his past and let's reflect on Rocky and let's do all this. It didn't feel like we got to summarize this guy's life or anything like that. It just like felt like another moment in Adonis's career, essentially, and we'll see where it goes from here. But I kind of expected a little bit more of like, let's wrap this thing up story-wise and all that kind of stuff.
No, I definitely think they left it open-ended without being ambiguous about it. I think I appreciated that. It doesn't, as I was watching this, I was like, this basically is just a superhero movie, but without capes. But that's pretty much every blockbuster at this point, and that's it's okay.
It was Killmonger versus Kang.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to that, at least in the back of our brains, for sure. But even the way that it's shot in sequences and like it's very stylized and stuff, more so I think than 1 or 2 were. I think you see this was Michael B. Jordan's vision for this kind of stuff directorially. I want to ask you guys about that. Let's go there. Actually, let's talk about MBJ as a director. I did say, I think the second one is admirably directed. Stephen Cable Jr., I think, is the director on that.
Oh, that's right. That wasn't Coogler. You're right. I forgot that.
Yeah. But I rewatched both of those movies a couple of days before went to see this one. Like I said, I like 2 quite a bit. It's a solid, very good movie. Acting's very good. Some of the stuff with his kid is very sweet and touching. The redemption arc on Rocky is great. And the montage sequence, like his training sequence, is incredible. Probably better than what's in this one or in the first one. But it is definitely missing something from a technical standpoint. This was a major. For me, and then I can't. You're really director guy here, and shot composition and all that kind of stuff. I would say this is a big step up from a technical standpoint as compared to Creed 2, but still doesn't match Coogler in Creed. I think Creed 1 is like a perfectly shot movie in addition to everything else about it. So, but this felt like certainly it was closer to that than Creed 2 was, but for me at least. But what about you?
Yeah, Ryan Coogler has established himself as an auteur of sorts, so he has his own definable quality that he brings when he is in the director's chair. I think Michael B. Jordan recognizes that. It's not going to try to be Ryan Coogler. He's going to do his own thing. I thought he did a admirable job with this. Of course, you live and die by the big fight scenes in these movies, and I thought they were really well done. I thought they looked good. I thought the editing was good. I thought the pre-visualization was good on them. Like you could tell that they actually sat down and said, okay, how do we want this to look? Instead of let's just get out there and shoot it and then edit it together and hope that it works, it feels like a lot of fight scenes are like that, where there's no real direction before they actually get out there and shoot it on what they want to get accomplished. And so I appreciated that about it, where there was a clear vision on the look and feel of that. We can get a little spoilery by talking about the last fight. Of course, this all leads up to a fight between, Adonis and Jonathan Majors' character, Diamond Dame. And
great name. Great name for a character.
I thought the way that was set up, first of all, having it at Dodger Stadium was a interesting choice, and I thought a great aesthetic choice. set this up as the Battle of Los Angeles or whatever. But you can't just do another big boxing scene, I think. And there's been how many Rocky movies, how many Creed movies already, how many fights in each of those movies, right? I think we're at a point now, the audience is, where we've just seen all we can see with that. Not to mention all the other boxing movies, Raging Bull and all of that kind of stuff that has brought their own unique flair to that. And so the choice that Michael B. Jordan made to make it kind of this surreal, psychedelic, in your own head moment type of thing, I loved. Because this entire movie is leading up to that. So all I'm thinking in my chair watching this is like, what's the last fight going to be? What's it going to be like? How are they going to live up to expectation? You know, that's all I kept thinking about is how is he going to pull this off? Because he's setting the groundwork great. He's setting up the story. He's setting up the rivalry great. But this all has to pay off in the end. And I thought the swerve there was awesome. Because I would have been disappointed if it's just, they fight, and whoever wins, wins, and that's the end. And it was pretty typical. It was not typical at all, and I appreciated that.
Sure. What do you think about that, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, it felt, like I said, it felt more, I mean, all of this movie just felt very in a cool way, both retro in terms of boxing is inherently retro, and enormously 2023, right? It's like, you can tell everyone that made this really understands sports because, you know, you could do a facsimile of something, you could do the wrong kind of show, but like First Take's exactly where this would exist. So like even stuff like that, you know, and then down to the actual nuts and bolts of shooting the boxing, not just shooting it, but like the structure of the fight felt quicker, faster, more personal, more, it was a really, I don't know. I wouldn't even say it felt cinematic, the fight, because that's almost what made it great is that it didn't. It almost felt kind of like you were at a great IMAX showing of a real fight. It didn't feel cinematic, but then that became very cinematic because it was so authentic. That's the thing. It just felt really, at least the experience I had in the theater. I weirdly had like an empty theater. So it was kind of like watching on a big screen. There's a few people in there, but given the box office on this, I was surprised because I saw it today, so I knew it had done really well. But I felt really in it. I felt really immersed, and you know, good sound, and it was really well produced in a really authentically athletic way.
How did you feel about the walkouts sequences? Because it feels a little bit like these movies are like WWE in a way, where the wrestler walkout is like as exciting, if not more exciting than the actual match itself.
You know, it's funny. I love, you know, I've read a bunch of books about Muhammad Ali. I've watched all those old fights. I have a decent knowledge of like historic boxing, but I haven't watched a fight in years.
Same.
And so my thought on that was, it felt kind of wrestling-ish, the huge spectacle of the entrance. And I remember Tyson had some pretty crazy entrances and stuff, but
they have them like that now. Boxers.
Yes, I mean, I was thinking like, of course, I can't back that up with any kind of knowledge because I haven't watched a fight in years, but like my thought was like, oh, I bet that is what it's like now. I didn't think about that. Like with TikTok and with just kind of the production value of everything and how the culture, you know, one of the great political theories of the last 20 years is like that culture has kind of become professional wrestling in a lot of ways. Like all the terms that you would use to cover professional wrestling, you can like use to cover politics now. Like, so it would make sense that boxing, which is much more closely related to professional wrestling than say like basketball, which is now even basketball has like professional wrestling influences with introductions and stuff. That of course boxing would have that even more so. So yeah, it felt true to me, even though I have no way to authenticate it in current recent experience.
Yeah. No, I think that stuff's great.
Less like it's true and more like Michael B. Jordan realized, let's lean fully. Let's do 5 minutes of just the intros of these two guys. Yeah. I thought Adonis Creed's intro was awesome.
It was awesome.
With the freaking robe and like the I thought it was a little nod to Coogler with the following him through with the shoulder behind the back shot.
Yeah.
Man, was that a robe from the original Rocky movie or something? Did I not catch that? Was that like
I'm not sure.
Apollo Creed's robe or something? Because it looked like it would be. I don't know. But
yeah, it did look nostalgic on that front. I think the Conglin intro in Creed is one of the best scenes in that movie, and there's 20 great scenes in that movie. But
man, that to me, that's my favorite moment in all the Creed movies is the intro sequence of Creed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just goosebumps.
Yeah. This one got that right, I think. Whereas again, I felt like not necessarily missed it, but it was just a little bit lesser. This one came through really well on that, including I think the first fight introduction for Diamond Dame, like him just coming in basically by himself in a robe with that kind of we need to talk about Jonathan Majors, the
underdog,
6 or 7 hours, but like. He's just an incredible actor. He's an incredible actor. He's so good. He's already become that, when somebody, not that we hadn't seen him in movies before, we have, but the last few months to a year or whatever, it feels like he's sort of omnipresent in a way where at least for me, I sit back and I kind of feel like, hey, remember like a year ago when I barely knew who this guy was? This is so much better. He's so good in everything that he does. Here he embodies that sort of like cagey hyper awareness and nervousness that you get with somebody who's been in prison for a long time. If you've ever been around anybody who's spent some time in prison, like that's
on edge.
Yeah. Like always kind of looking from side to side just at all times, but he got the physicality and the mannerisms of the acting side of things so well. And then I think that makes, when he kind of unleashes it and goes kind of into just beast mode, it's terrifying. I mean, he's a terrifying opponent. First for Felix and then for Creed at the end of it. Go to you first on this one, Richard. Jonathan Majors. Good. This was pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great in this. He's like, that's such a difficult part. I'd love if he got nominated for this. Especially if that's a supporting role. I think it's a co-lead, but if that's a supporting role, I can't imagine there's 5 better performances than that in that spot this year. If there is, awesome, great year.
Right.
But that's a really tough thing, right? Where he's menacing and creepy and calculating, and he's pulling all the strings, and you are really off put by this person. But at the same time, you got a sympathy for the situation, and that there's a good person in there the whole time. It's almost like the opposite of an anti-hero. It's like an anti-villain, it's like he's this villainous person in the movie, but you're hoping that it comes around from at the end, and talk about that at the end, the way it kind of comes around. But yeah, I mean, that I feel like that's such an emotionally hard thing to play, and I don't think a lot of people could. And I would put degree of difficulty in that part at 10 out of 10 plus. Oh yeah, you got to be in insane shape, right? And be really physically menacing and stuff. Like, man, again, if there's 5 better performances than that, come this time next year, we'll be talking about 2023 as a great year, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Where'd you fall on this performance?
Yeah. Gosh, he is an incredible actor. I thought the characterization, the nuance that he put in to the character of Dame was unbelievable. The stuttering that Jonathan Majors did with the character. I 100% believed that this guy was who he was in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no other way to say it. I believed that he was who he was acting as. And what was also interesting to me was the fact that they didn't have this sequence of Diamond Dame in prison, working out, hardening himself, becoming a boxer, working his way up the ranks of the prison boxing society. That had to have been a studio note. Like, hey, it'd be great if we knew his history. And Michael B. Jordan's like, we don't need that.
No,
all I got to do is say, hey, man, I've been training and I'm ready. Like, that's all you have to say.
Yeah. It's a great point. Great point.
And so I appreciated that. Man, it's tough because you're right. You've got this character who obviously had mistakes in his past, and Adonis helps him out. I was conflicted at the end. I was like, I don't know who I want to win this, because I want Diamond Dame to live his dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that moment at the end, let's get spoilery now.
For sure.
Should we? Yeah. Spoilers coming up. Spoilers, definitely spoiling the movie now. At the end of the fight, when Adonis has come out victorious and they just have that moment together in the locker room and they just sit there in silence, I thought that was the moment of the movie for me, where everything leads up to that, and whatever Adonis says in that moment is going to determine what happens with their relationship from now on, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You've all built it up. It can go either way, right? You can say, F you, man, and take his belt and leave and say, you should never enter my arena. I'm the man, and peace. Or, you can have sympathy for him, which is what ended up happening. But I love the setup, and you get to that moment and they just let it breathe for like a good minute before any words are spoken. And you just could feel the tension in the room. I love that.
I do too. I found myself in that fight rooting for Adonis, but also really wanting some redemption for this character, and kind of understanding, again, I think this is, Richard, you kind of touched on this. I think it gets the sports aspect of this right. So just done so well. Of this sort of I don't even know if it's necessarily understated, but maybe it's just like the C story through all of this, of Adonis needing to prove it to this guy, and that he is who he says he is, and all that kind of stuff.
Like,
and
you were in prison when I was the champion, basically. And
yeah. And I think they got that. Gosh, they could just get the sports stuff done so well here. I love that. I love when a sports movie actually comes through on the sports element of it. But yeah, I found myself being like, man, obviously I wanted Adonis to win this, but I really want this guy to get some redemption at the end of it. And that's what we get. That scene is incredible. It's touching and almost sweet, but also just kind of heart-wrenching because of what these two kids went through. And I think the movie too does a really great job of delving into trauma and the experiences that people are holding, at all times, no matter how good things have gotten. I mean, here's Creed, who's literally on top of the world and has this incredible part. Everything is great for this guy, and he still has this childhood trauma in the back of his mind because he's never dealt with it. They did that. The movie did that very well without letting it become overly dominating in terms of the storyline, or like the kind of woe is me-ism that it could become as well. I thought it handled that stuff very appropriately, and in like I think a pretty realistic way of him sort of dealing with this on his own, and then kind of letting it bubble to the surface a bit, and then coming to fruition with the death of his mom. That scene is just a gut punch when she starts to call him Apollo and everything. Gosh, man, that's incredible acting too. Beautiful sequence there. But letting this new event be the thing that kind of that finally allows him to say, okay, I need to talk about this. I need to get this stuff out there. I don't know. It felt like a very authentic way to handle trauma and PTSD and all that kind of stuff. I thought it was pretty beautiful. So then to have it come full circle at the end there with basically both of them forgiving each other and letting each other off the hook because they were children when all this happened to them and whatnot, was a really, really sweet, touching way to close out their relationship.
I thought the line from Creed where he says it wasn't your fault, and he says it wasn't your fault either. and like he lets him off the hook for the guilt he's felt. Like this guy's been in prison. Like imagine,
right.
like for him to say, "Dude, you don't have to be guilty. You don't have to feel guilty either. Like you can let this go too. It's not just like me, you, and I. It's like you yourself can get past this."
Right.
And that was a beautiful moment.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, I mean, again, to the point of this is sports. I mean, that is a very that's a very real thing with I'm not just with men, but with competitive athletes, whatever wherever you add on that. Like, how many times have you been in a gym where you end up almost fighting somebody and then be like, "Hey man, like, we getting beers now or what?" I mean, you just like, it's sometimes you have to.
I normally fight referees, but yeah, I've fought. I've tried to fight a few players.
Right. There's just, I don't know. It was another spot where I'm like, gosh, I think they're getting this. They're getting this right, doing things the right way. I thought the boxing was incredible. You touched on it, Richard. That's one area where I think this movie is better than the first one. Is the boxing feels like violent and real and authentic. Like I'm with you. I haven't watched a big fight in a long time, but I used to be pretty into that. And those times when you randomly caught a fight where it was like, oh crap, these guys are like going at it. Like they're throwing haymakers, not just jabs and ducking and diving and stuff like that.
I think it helps too to have the person. It certainly helped the original Rockies, with like it, as it went more and more. But like, I think it probably helps to have the person doing the fighting really directing a lot of the scenes too.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
I think,
it's a good point.
He's in there. He knows that kind of physicality. You kind of can maybe be a little more creative than someone operating in third person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I totally get that for sure. Where does this series go from here? I don't think it's over either. I don't think this feels like the end of the Creed story, but he's retired again, I guess. So what do we do now? Where does it go from here?
It feels like they could either do another movie where he returns as the champ. I feel like they could do another movie if Jonathan Majors is down with it, where Dame wants a rematch. I'm surprised they didn't set that up at the end with Dame being like, "So can I get a rematch?" Yeah. Like now that we're cool on a personal level, can we just make this professional? And I think they could go there. I think they obviously set it up with his daughter wanting to pursue boxing. So I think you could do a whole nother series where he's in more of a mentor role and is training his daughter to become a boxer. So they could go that direction. So I would say probably one more movie with Michael B. Jordan fighting, and then probably move it to the daughter. That's what I would do. All
right. I can see that. Arby, you have any thoughts on the continuation of this story?
I think he fights Rocky. No.
They do like an ALS challenge kind of thing.
Exactly.
Like charity.
Exactly. I think, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I would have thought that the lesson of Rocky is don't make too many.
Yeah.
But man, did this make a lot of money, and it was really well received, and it's really good. So it's hard to say not to do a fourth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'd stay away from a fifth just for juju reasons. Rocky 5 is pretty rough.
Yeah.
Rocky 4 is pretty, end of the Cold War.
Right.
So there's that. But
were you guys? I was a little bit disappointed that like this had basically zero Rocky reference, other than like Adonis Creed being who he is. There wasn't like, oh, let's bring in like the Rocky theme at the end of the movie or something like that. It was like no connection to Rocky, which I understand. Like we need to make this its own thing, but at the same time, we can't ignore where this came from, in my opinion.
That was one of the areas where I felt like you just kind of had to use a little bit of movie dust because if this is a real thing, if this is really happening, Rocky is definitely calling from wherever he is. And being like, hey, do you need me to come in, or giving advice or whatever, to the point that I almost expected him. Like there's a scene like as he, right before his intro for the final fight, he like turns the corner and walks into a dark hallway, and it's, you know, it ends up being like 10 seconds basically of him walking down to his intro. And I almost thought, like, is Rocky about to be
Maybe
right
they
here
left
and just-
maybe they left a place where, like, if Sly wanted to do a cameo, that's where they could do it.
yeah,
Like they left a
Yeah,
little
could be.
like
could be.
we could splice it in right here type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
I certainly
Yeah, could
feel
be.
that. I didn't even know that was a rumor until I got home from the movie and started, you know, putting my notes together and saw a headline that says, "No, Sly will not be in Creed 3." Like I guess there was a rumor or thought that he would show up in this. I didn't even think about it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty easy to set that aside because it's a movie, you know, but I did have a thought of like, man, kind of expected. It's hard to remember everything. I'm pretty sure he had like a potential Me Too thing that came up right around when they probably were going to go in for, you know, scripting on all this kind of stuff. And so maybe it was, as far as I don't think anything came of that. Could be totally wrong because it's impossible to keep track of all this.
As long
stuff
as it
now.
doesn't change Expendables 4 from coming out, I'm good.
Yeah, we get
Whatever.
that this summer.
Just kidding.
Get that this summer. It maybe could have used a reference here or there, but if you do that, then you got to bring him in. And you got to film the scene, and maybe that changes the tone. I don't know.
Maybe just
I mean,
like
it
a
felt-
picture in his gym of Rocky and just like
Yeah.
look up at it and acknowledge it or something.
Sure.
I was just surprised
I mean,
there
I
was
th-
zero. It was like no Rocky.
Yeah, I would guess that they had lots of conversations about killing him off, like just having him having died post retirement or something like that, but decided we don't want to do that because we want maybe
do that in
3
the
years from
forward.
now we have a great story where
Got to
it
make
fits
another
to
run at
bring
the
him in,
Oscar.
you know. Yeah. Should have got it.
Yeah.
So
Mark
Okay.
Rylance, what have you ever done?
what sucks is Mark Rylance rules so
I know.
hard. He's so good in that movie, and in every movie he's incredible. Just like we've given him. How about we find another one somewhere down the line to give you, and we'll let this one.
Yeah, I don't think Sly's going to have a lot of swings at that.
Yeah, it's not a lot of. Don't think Expendables 4 is gonna get him in that conversation, but you never know. You never know. Okay, I love this. That was great. That's all I've got. On anybody else got any thoughts, or we want to grade this and get into weekly recommends?
I mean, Tessa Thompson's great. That's the only other note.
Tessa Thompson's great. The storyline with the daughter's great. I've really gotten to where I love seeing hearing impaired characters on screen and like the attention to detail that goes towards making that like not feel like a like tokenism or like this is just a thing that's, but to really engage that and to sign, I think, with authenticity and the emotion that goes into it and everything. I love that. I thought it was handled incredibly well. I'm always happy to see that stuff being done well on screen.
And I
So,
think
thought that
Wood
was great.
Harris from The Wire being in this is awesome,
Always
too.
awesome, too.
He's incredible.
Great
and
cast, man.
and to have Michael B. Jordan with him, it makes sense again. And that's another nice, great character.
Yeah.
Duke.
Good soundtrack too. They use they use songs a little more than score to push the action and stuff, especially during like the training montages and whatnot. And that was a fun change, I think. Despite, I mean, I love the training montages in the previous two movies and the score and the Rocky theme building and everything like that. But it was kind of cool to see them go a slightly different direction with that.
One other note I did have that was kind of a big one that I was saving. The buy-in as an audience on Dame getting a title shot so quickly. Was that hard for you guys to accept? It wasn't for me because we live in a world where Logan Paul fought Floyd Mayweather.
Right.
So no boxing match, in my opinion, is out of the realm of possibility.
Mhm.
And so that's how I kind of viewed it. But I can see as an audience member being like, wait, this guy's out of prison and now he's getting a world title shot? Come on.
Yeah, I was hoping for Butterbean, but if it wasn't gonna be
Butterbean.
then
Yes.
this is the way to
Butterbean was
go.
the best.
Yeah, no, I think it totally works because that is that is boxing, and B, that's the legacy of this whole series. Like that's Rocky, that's Apollo fighting Rocky, just
Yep.
with jail mixed in.
Exactly.
So I think it works really well. Yeah, I had no problems with it. So okay, let's do grades. Kent, what about you? What's your grade for Creed 3?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I would still rank it as, I don't know, maybe third or second in the Creed series, just because I think Creed is so great. I think Sly just makes it that much better, having that element in it. It's just the icing on the cake. I'll go like between a B+ and an A-, so I'll go A-.
Okay, Richard, what about you?
I just got out of this a little bit ago, so these kind of movies are hard to grade. I wish I hadn't seen it right away or right before recording, because it's such an emotional high. You're so jacked up. So I want to give it an A+. I'm gonna give it a solid A, just to I feel like in 2 weeks I might knock it down one, but I'm feeling it's like a 96 for me.
Okay, that's good. I'm kind of the opposite, actually. I walked out saying that was incredible. I loved it. Had a whole bunch of fun with it. Very, very good, but it's not as good as 1. And kind of comparing the two through the course of the movie, I think, and the conversation has talked me up. So I'm gonna go A+. A+. This was awesome. I think. I mean, it's very hard to say this early in the year. It's kind of like talking about the MVP in basketball in first week in November, but this feels like a top 10er already, which is great. It'd be cool to, like we always say, if this doesn't make my top 10, then that will probably mean that this has been a pretty great year. So, and Majors helps that a whole bunch. So good stuff.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Man, fam, something I learned recently that's helped me out a lot is that it's okay to share your feelings. Yeah, we don't really get serious on this show very often, but it's okay to feel stressed, to feel overwhelmed, and to feel like you need someone to talk to. Getting to know yourself can be a lifelong process, especially because we're always growing and changing. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react the way we do until we talk it through. So BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery from wherever you are. We're big proponents on Mad About Movies of you staying connected with yourself and making sure that you can accomplish every goal that you've set for yourself in life. Therapy is a great way to do that. If you've been thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/madaboutmovies today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/madaboutmovies.
Awesome. This has been fun. Good conversation. Before we get out of here, let's do a quick weekly recommend.
Weekly recommends.
Richard, what is your weekly recommend this week, my friend?
Mine's a book that actually just came out, I think, last week, by James B. Stewart and Rachel Abrams. James B. Stewart did the Disney Wars book. He also did Den of Thieves, which is a great about the junk bond scandal. But he just did a new book about the whole Sumner Redstone Paramount legacy. It's kind of real life Succession, like who's going to get all the money.
Oh, sweet.
All the people that are, were ripping him off and conning him. There's like this weird love triangle where this actor / con man was dating one woman that was trying to rip off and then tipped it all. I mean, it's a crazy story. Of course, David Boyce shows up in it. Anyone that reads current nonfiction, that lawyer shows up somehow in every story ever. So yeah, it's a fascinating read. Really, really wild, kind of old Hollywood. That guy made his money with drive-in theaters and stuff. And so, and then kind of took over Paramount Viacom, became, this executive chairman of a really powerful conglomerate that has both made and lost a lot of money depending on the year. So, and then obviously all the Les Moonves stuff that comes into play as the book goes on. So,
they go into that.
Oh yeah. So it's all
Nice.
it's about all that. So, yeah, I think it's a book you guys would both like, but I think a lot of our listeners would as well. But yeah, once
There's
again, unscripted.
almost
James B.
nothing
Stewart
more
and
I
Rachel.
like in a subject matter than entertainment industry books. I just love those. I love drama with studios, and
I'm excited for that new Oscar Wars book that is coming. That's out too. It came out, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
oh, nice. I need to look at that. Yeah, Disney Wars was great.
Yeah.
That's another side recommend. That goes into the Eisner and stuff a bunch, but yeah, check that one out. But what's it called again, Richard?
It's called Unscripted.
Unscripted.
The epic battle for a media empire and the Redstone family legacy. James B. Stewart and Rachel
by James
Abrams.
B. Stewart. Got it.
Sweet. Love it. Awesome. Kent, what about you? What's your weekly override?
Yeah, just 1 second. Hold on. I was writing it down.
Oh, my.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to recommend something that is just so nostalgic. And there's sometimes where you just want to turn your brain off, whether it's wrestling. It's the end of the season, the NFL, and I'm just like, want mindless entertainment. And it's perfect timing for me, you guys, because South Park is back. The latest episode, Randy Marsh gets a bidet. And it is so effing funny. So check that one out. The new episode of South Park. It's called Japanese Toilet. And it'll make you laugh.
Nice. It's great. Very good. I'm gonna recommend. Let's see. I'll recommend a movie or a documentary that came out on the Netflix a couple weeks ago. That's I think Tobin and I are gonna do a quick review of at some point on our basketball podcast, Spread the Floor. It's called Bill Russell Legend. It is a little documentary. Sorry, my letterbox is like playing ads. What the crap is going on?
Did you guys see the SNL? What's his name? James Austin Johnson doing Bill Walton.
Bill Walton, yeah.
Man, that was
yes,
great.
yeah. It's awesome. Walton loved it.
Yeah, and then
So
Walton's 15 tweet response to it, Ken, is great too. It's just like, I came home. Yeah, it's like he
So
does
high.
like Bill Walton doing Bill Walton. He's like, I came home,
So
covered in
easy.
stardust from a beautiful UCLA night. I turn
Much
on
to
my
my
TV,
chagrin, much to
and
my surprise.
I see myself. And in that moment, I realized I am alive in both two bodies. It's like he just does on this great.
What an
It's like, God, I love
American
this man.
treasure.
So good, man. It's so good. Walton rules so hard. I love him.
Bill Russell, though, is
Anyway.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, this is Bill Russell, who
The second greatest
Bill
Celtics
Russell
Bill.
is-
Yeah,
Right.
as he's well known.
Bill Russell was I don't know, it's somewhere between the second and fifth best basketball player of all time. I don't know. Won all of the championships in the 60s and was outspoken to the point that it hurt his own career and whatnot, for social justice, and did not suffer fools. I think is
That's the
fair
best way
way
to put it. Yeah, there you go.
to put it. Yeah. At times was a very cantankerous person, and then also at times was right to be a cantankerous person. But anyway, very famously, Bill Russell he wouldn't sign autographs. He was even difficult for other players to deal with, things like that. But he sort of softened a little bit in the last couple years of his life, and this documentary is interesting because it very clearly was like, I'm not willing to participate in this kind of thing. So they have some archival footage and stuff from past interviews that he did on camera, but then they sort of fill in the gaps with interviews with current players and former players, Larry Bird and Steph Curry and LeBron and all of these people. And then also they have the great Jeffrey Wright reading.
I thought you were going to say
excerpts
Epstein.
from-
Sorry, that was your other podcast.
reading stuff from his autobiographies and stuff to kind of fill in the gaps as they tell his whole story from growing up. So it's they say it's a series. It's really just a 3-hour movie. It's a 2-part series, I guess.
That's one of the great documentary hacks now. Is just get the Audible and use that
Yeah.
for 3 hours of narration.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a good bit. It's a good bit. It's very Ken Burns.
Can we get a Bill
but
Walton
they don't
doc,
put up words
though?
on the screen.
For real.
so.
Let's get a Bill Walton 4-episode arc.
Richard's friends with
Episode
Bill
4 is
so
just
we can
him at a
make
Grateful
that.
Dead show.
Yeah.
They announced a 30 for 30 on Bill Walton in August.
Oh, they did? Okay, good.
So
Can't
we will
freaking
be
wait.
getting it. Yeah. That will
Yeah,
be
I
out.
think we need to do an episode. He's the best, man.
It's being directed by the guy that made Hoop Dreams, Steve James.
Yes, that's right. Huge. It's a huge deal. Huge.
If it's
deal.
not
Okay.
just hanging out with Bill Walton, I'll be disappointed.
He does
It
have
has to be
he
that.
has an Audible memoir that I read about 5 years ago that's fantastic.
Uh-huh.
And the whole thing is about his recovery from he had horrible back things. Like he had to lay in a dark room for like 3 years with
Mhm.
wanting to die basically because of his back, and then
Right.
he got it healed somehow. Finally.
Aaron Rodgers does that for fun.
Yeah, exactly.
so, you know,
for 2
there's
days,
that.
coward. Didn't even make it the full 4 days. But and then the whole rest of the book is just Bill Walton going, I could walk again. I could see my friends, but most importantly, I could ride my bike. I ride my bike from San Diego to Portland. I ride my bike. And it's just him listing cities he rides his bike to. And I was like, this is the best Audible ever.
Just
Gotta
the best
get it.
human. I love him. I love him so much. All right.
He's a real human
Sweet.
being. That's amazing.
He's the best. The best human. Love it. All right, let's get out of here. This has been Creed 3. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for being here. If you want more Mad About Movies, well, do I have the deal for you? Go to madaboutmoviespodcast.com/VIP. And for $5 a month, you can join our VIP club. You can get an additional episode every week on a throwback or a retrospective movie. This week, we'll be talking about 1983's The Outsiders. We have all kinds of fun movies coming up in that VIP club. And you get access to the literal hundreds of movies that we have done throwback episodes on, as well as you get into our exclusive Discord. You can talk to movie fans all day long if you want to. And occasionally even we show up in there. madaboutmoviespodcast.com/VIP to sign up for more of that. We'll be back next week. I believe probably talking Scream 6. I think is what we're at this point. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Stay safe. We'll see you at the cinema. Bye.
Hey baby, I hear the blues are calling, tossed salads and scrambled eggs. And maybe I seem a bit confused. Yeah, maybe, but I got you pegged. But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Scrambled eggs all over my face.
They're making me yah-yah. The salads and scrambled eggs.
They're calling again.